it's more centered. Go over the syllabus, and you should have access to the syllabus from Canvas. But we should look at it so that we are on the same page for what is expected of you and what is expected of me. And if you have any questions, you can raise them at this time. You know, obviously, the time and the location of the class since you're here. My office is 3176H, which is right across from the BITC office. So my office hours will be Monday and Wednesday, 11 to 1. And I have to be here at 1, so a couple minutes before 1. You have my email. I don't really use the office phone, so, you know, don't call me, please. But I will be very prompt to reply to the email. You have my website if you want to check it out. And so about the class, so I understand that for the first time this quarter, the students who are in the JavaScript class have had an intro to programming class last quarter. Is this correct? Did everyone has ITC 110 or equivalent? Did you have? You did not, so maybe my understanding is incorrect.
CSC 110.
Okay, well that's definitely a intro to programming.
Yeah.
I understand that most of you should have had intro to programming, and if you did, that's only going to help. Did any of you take the Python class last quarter?
No, last quarter.
But before, did you take the Python?
Last quarter.
Okay, so if you get Python, it will help, but also it will be very different because Python is such a concise, high-level language. Maybe then I guess there's nothing else to say about that. I thought that there was a new rule that you all had, you know, programming, but maybe that's not the case. So I'll keep that in mind, and then we're going to spend time learning some programming fundamentals as we go through the class because JavaScript, after all, is a programming language. So after you complete the class, you should be able to use JavaScript with a basic programming language. So perform basic programming functions, know what a variable is, conditional loops, arrays, and these are programming concepts that are available and present in pretty much any language. But you also know how to implement these in JavaScript. You'll also know how functions and methods work, and we're going to learn about objects. As I mentioned, control structures. And so this will be the part of the class where we're going to learn the fundamentals in programming with Java. After which we're actually going to start using JavaScript rather. We're going to start using JavaScript for while we're learning all this, which is to manipulate the document object model and essentially make our websites dynamic rather than static. To do this also, we're going to learn about events. We're going to cover the jQuery library, which is very easy actually. After you learn JavaScript, you find jQuery easy to learn and use, and also jQuery plugins, and I will talk more about all this. We're going to learn about Ajax and JSON, which would allow you to work with data with JavaScript. And then, depending how much time we have, we're going to cover some of the JavaScript APIs. There are many different APIs out there for JavaScript application programming interface. In particular, last quarter, we spent time with AngularJS. And that was, I think, it was a good investment of our time. If we have more time, we might also look at some of the Google APIs and some of the other APIs as well. And we're going to learn how to troubleshoot our programs, how to test them, and then if we have an issue, how to find out what the root cause is, because what is, when you're a programmer, where do you allocate most of your time? Is it programming? Or is debugging? So you need to know how to debug. And I'll show you some tools to also help with debugging. And last but not least, we're going to work with forms, entering data in forms and doing client-side validation, submitting forms. We're not really going to go into the PHP, that's a different class. So we'll learn the front end, the client-end side of forms. And then if you're taking ITC 240, you will learn about the back end. The textbook is required. So hopefully, if you didn't get it, please do get this book. It's called JavaScript and jQuery, and it's, I think, an excellent book. I used to have a different book, and the reason I switched to this one is because I think it's very design-friendly as well. So it should work both for designers and developers alike. There is source code that comes with a book, and I will show you the link. So we're going to be working a lot with the examples from the book. Any questions so far? Okay. The evaluation will be based on weekly assignments. You're going to have a coding assignment due every time before the Monday of the following week, and then final presentation. So you put together over the span of several weeks a final website which will incorporate a lot of what we're learning, and then present it at the end of the class. Everything will be handled through Canvas, so I'll be posting the assignments, and then you will be submitting them through a link, only through link, no attachments. And by doing the assignments, you should be able to get practice with new skills and concepts and tools that we have covered in class. Everything in the class is worth 100 points, so you have a total 100%. Usually we have an assignment about every week, maybe 1 week we won't have an assignment. And then I have posted in your syllabus conversion scale so that you can see your grade based on the percentage that you earn in the class. And you earn 100 points if your assignment is coded per requirements and handed in on time. There is information about logging in, although if you're already looking at the syllabus, you probably have logged in to the computer labs. If you don't turn in your homework on time, you automatically lose 20%. So you do want to manage your time, and that's an important skill to have, as I'm sure you know. If your homework is more than 3 days late, it will not be counted. So just make sure to stay on top of your homework. Or if something comes up, as usually something will come up, just you need to also stay on top of that. And as long as you communicate with me, then we can work around your situation. If your assignments are turned in but incompleted, you'll be given partial credit. And each assignment will have a breakdown, and I'll show you more specifically the technical, specifications as to how many points are awarded for what. Attendance is not mandatory, and I'll be recording as long as we have the, technical capability here and the network is working. But I do highly recommend you come to class because you get so much more from interacting with your fellow students and hopefully with myself as well. So try to come to class if you can, but if you can't, we're flexible. We have the recordings as well. And do keep in mind that this is a programming class, so you must be prepared to spend adequate time. You can't just show up, leave, and then show up the next time. You need to have, depending on your background, possibly several hours a week or more to code. You must code to learn how to code. It's not going to happen in any other way. As I mentioned here, I'm recording the lecture, and I very much encourage you to work with others and to share information. If your neighbor needs help and you know the answer, please help them. But make sure to be honest about turning in your own homework, not somebody else's. If you have need for special accommodations, you should visit Ausuma in room 1112, and also please let me know after class so I can keep this in mind. I have included here a schedule which is subject to change. It really depends a little bit on the makeup of the class as to how much we're going to cover. Right now, the way things are looking, we have week 1 pretty much the ABC of programming and our secure setup and logistics. Week 2 will be basically, keep on saying Java is teach both, so it's not Java. We're going to talk about that. Java and JavaScript are not the same language. Maybe I should say this now. So
wait, what class is this?
This is, yeah, that's right. What class is this? It's the JavaScript class, but I said Java here, so I have to fix that. So does anyone know the difference between Java and JavaScript? Right?
JavaScript is more like a front-end programming language for web pages, where Java is more of a in-depth, lower-level language for programming everything from your Android phone to your toaster. That's roughly how
I think that's well correct. I'll just add that JavaScript is an interpretive language, whereas well, Java is a hybrid, but it's a more full-fledged language. But they're not the same. The reason they sound the same is just because of marketing considerations when JavaScript came out. I think I want to say the year. I won't say the year because I don't remember. But when JavaScript came out, Java was very big, and they just thought that by calling it JavaScript, they would pretty much, take advantage of the hype around Java. It has been a source of confusion ever since then. In week 2, we're going to cover functions, methods, and objects. And you probably, if you don't know what that means, don't worry. We're going to learn. In week 3, we're going to learn how to make decisions in programming. In week 4, we're going to talk about the DOM. You should know what the DOM is if you took Web 110. So you have some idea. So document object model, the document of the web page. We'll talk about this as well. So we're going to learn how to manipulate the DOM with JavaScript. In week 5, we're going to learn how to handle events from the user in particular. Week 6 should be jQuery and jQuery UI. Week 7, forms. Week 8, Ajax and JSON. And 9, AngularJS. And 10, if we have time, other APIs, or maybe we'll just have lab. And in week 11, usually the first day of the final week, we're going to have the presentations. And I try to go pretty close with the book, so you should have a correspondence between the chapters and the schedule here. Any questions about?
There's no final?
There is no final. We will do in class some ungraded quizzes, which will allow you to practice the skills and then review as a group, but no, they will not be graded. And I'll talk about this as well. I'd like you to start the Google Docs to save your answers so you can have them as a reference, but no final for this class. Any other question? All right. Okay. So let's go to Canvas and look at the setup of Canvas and how you can use it. If there are any announcements, I'm just going to post them in the announcements, and I already have one. So as I mentioned, if you're interested to be a TA, shoot me an email. The syllabus is under syllabus. And everything links out. So these are, can you guys see this, or is it just my? Okay, that's some stuff that is just on mine from last time, so don't worry about it. But here is the syllabus, and everything actually links, a lot of it links to Google Docs. But the syllabus I just went over is here. And we have modules. So the content of the class will be presented in the weekly modules. And right now you should have only week 1 visible to you. And take a look here. This is a Canvas design in quotation mark. So after you click to week 1, then you have to click to week 1 again in order to get to the content. And you can look at it this way if you like. I like, if I have a lot of files, to do a list view. And there will be some links to code and some slides or anything else, but week 1 material will be in this particular folder. You should have view only, so you can download and you cannot edit, so you don't mistakenly delete something. So close week 1, and I will add, every week additional modules. I have a resources module, and we can keep on adding here as something new comes up. So brackets is one of the many code editors you can use. You don't have to use brackets. So we need to, when we write our JavaScript, we need to have a text editor, of course. And we do have, as far as I understand, we should have brackets here. So then we're going to use brackets. If you want to use something else, that's fine, but I cannot guarantee that I can, troubleshoot it if you have problems. So I suggest you stick with the one that we're all using. And you can download it if you don't have it. It's free, cross operating system, so you can get it and use it at home as well. We have the source code for the book here by chapter, and if you like, you can download all of them somewhere here. So download all of them, and you can have it on your flash drive, or you can use it here. Once we start using them, you can figure out what works best for you to grab the source code. The way we usually did it was, since there is a lot of HTML and a lot of CSS, we would actually start with the existing HTML and CSS, so we don't spend time writing them, but we always hand code the JavaScript part because that's how we best learn. So we'll be doing a lot of hand coding. Some references here from the Mozilla Developer Network. There's a great JavaScript reference, a DOM reference, jQuery, jQuery UI, and a couple tools, JSLint and JSHint. These tools are used if you're having an issue with your code and you want to find out where the problem is. We're going to learn how to use them to help us debug, along with a tool that comes with Google Chrome, which I'll show you in a bit. So those are the resources. If you find something, so sometimes be careful if I click here, it seems, depending how the links are, it closes the entire canvas, so you may want to just go back. Otherwise, you have to go back in Canvas. It's just what it is. If you discover something relevant to the class, or cats photos are okay too. So, but other than cat photos, anything relevant to the class, put it in the discussion and you can share it with everybody in the class. Sometimes we get job openings, or if you just have anything, put it. I don't know if you can do announcements, but I know everybody can do discussion. So post your discussions here. And I think that's what you need to know. Just the modules. So each week go to the week 1, or whichever week it is, and then the content that you need to know will be there. And the assignments will be under assignments. And we do have assignment 1. So those of you who are not, the students who are not enrolled in the class yet, if you want to get started, you can give me your emails and I'll link you with the Google Docs and you can immediately get access. So after class, maybe if you like, give me your contact informations. Okay, so here is assignment 1. It's always due on the Monday at 1. In this case, since our class starts at 1, it's always a URL, so no attachments of any kind, please. And let's take a look at assignment 1. Well, actually, do you have any questions on the setup of the Canvas and how you will be using it in class before I change topics? Everyone here has used Canvas, I presume?
Yep, yeah.
No?
Yeah, thanks for using it.
Okay, yeah, it's great. So you like it. It's pretty intuitive and it just keeps everything organized. It's a learning management system. So maybe, Leanne, you can, I don't know if you'll be always sitting in the same position, but if you haven't used it before, maybe you can ask your neighbor for some help. Or ask me, of course. By the way, interrupt me anytime if you have any question. Okay, so this is assignment 1. And don't be alarmed, you don't know yet how to do this. But what I wanted to show you was more the grading criteria, which will be repeated throughout all the assignments. So you need to read this carefully, and it's on you to ask me if you're not clear on something. So when we run the web page, when I run the code, the first question will be, does the code run? So does it actually even load the page? So maybe if you gave me the wrong URL, it's not going to run, right? Because it will be a 404. Or maybe it's just so broken that it doesn't run. It just, JavaScript is, famous for giving these blank pages without, silently dying essentially without giving information. So that doesn't run. So if your code runs, you get 50 points. If there was some attempts to get it to run, 20 points max. And then we start looking at the correctness of the code, which will be worth 40 points. Does the code perform per the requirements, which will be specified below? Does the program produce the correct prompt? So very often, usually when we work with programs, we have this input processing output model. We get input from the user, we process, and then we output. So we're testing for that. Does the program calculate the correct values? So that's the logic that's usually on the programmer to have the correct logic in place. So if you have a tax, 10% tax, if you use 100 or 0.01 instead of 0.1, there will be a logical error resulting in an incorrect result. And are the results displayed correctly? And then looking at your source code, so if we're going to learn how to do this, are your variables with the proper meaningful names? Have you commented your code? Have you left enough white space so it's actually readable by humans? And if you didn't submit correctly, then it will not be graded because it's not there, obviously. You can do one resubmit, and I guess I'm pretty soft about this, so I think you can probably count on one resubmission without losing points, unless it's very late. So I guess I have some flexibility. If I told you something is wrong and you know how to fix it, then you can resubmit. Do you have any questions? And maybe, do you have any questions on the grading criteria as you see it here? Is it clear? Okay, good. And so your particular assignment, and don't worry about it, as far as how you're going to do this, we're going to learn, but you create a little program in JavaScript where the user enters an invoice. And then you're going to use a 10% tax rate to calculate, what do we do here? To calculate the tax rate based on the particular amount that the user entered. And then add together the amount of the invoice plus the tax resulting in. Okay, so don't worry about it right now. We're going to talk about it more later. But that's one sample example, and they will always have the grading criteria up here. Any questions or comments on this? All right. Also, while we are talking about logistics, I received some feedback last time that 5-minute break was not long enough with so much information in the class, so we'll try maybe to do 10 minutes break sharp, and do this at 11:50 to 12, and at 12 o'clock sharp, I'll start again, whether you're here or not.
The class starts at 1 p.m.
What was I saying here? Yeah, okay, I was thinking about the 11, that was last quarter, of course, so that's not going to work. So then 1:50 to 2. Okay, sounds good. Thanks for that. All right, trying to cheat you out of your break, right? Okay. Well, generally, I'm not going to be doing so much talking, so just that's the first week, just so you know. Let's see if they have brackets real quick. I just want to make sure they should, but just double check. Yeah, they do. Okay, so this is the program we'll be using. We won't be using it. We'll be using it today probably, but not right now. But brackets. So we do have it installed. That's good news. Make sure to bring a flash drive to class. Although a lot of students last quarter seem to just, oh, actually I should just talk about this. Are you familiar with the Edison Server? Okay, who is not familiar? It's okay if you're not, I just want to know. All right. So let me talk about this for a moment, and I will actually post. I'll make a note to post a document about it as well. So to post links to your homework, you have to have a website. And maybe you have your own website, but maybe you don't. If you want to go out and get your own domain hosting, that's great. And I'll put some reference for you, but it's optional. But we do have a web server in the school, which is called Edison, that you can use for free. Let me show you about that. And let's see here. This is where you can upload. And the reason I was talking about this was because some students were immediately, as they were upgrading, using their brackets, they would just post immediately online. So that's fine if you want to do this. And so to connect brackets with the Edison web server, we need one more piece of software. Does anyone know what else do we need?
FileZilla?
We need FileZilla. There you go. Okay, and I'll show you this as well. So I'm searching for student web server or web space. And I'll post this link, and I actually have some other instructions as well. And essentially, you're going to just need to follow the instructions. This tells you the name of the server, and then you use this little, I don't know if you can see, this is a little tilde, which is the, which one is it? It's on the very top left of the keyboard. So tilde is this character. Did you see? Can you see this here? That's a tilde. Okay. All right. So you'll be using your. You have to find your username. My username is SMERDO1. Do you know how to find your username? Probably. Maybe I should.
Not everybody knows it.
Probably
Most
not.
people won't post themselves.
Right.
I used to not know, and I didn't say.
Right. Okay. Well,
Ednet blog.
it's going to be the Ednet, and I'll post a link to this as well. So Ednet login. And this is also where you're going to get your login to actually log into the machines. So the open login will work for week 1, I think for the first 10 days. And by that time, you need to figure out your own login, okay? All right, so with Ednet login, for example, let's take my example. So my last name is M, so I go here. No, actually, let's take somebody else's. What is your last name?
I don't think it's.
You don't have one? Yours was wrong, right? Okay. So let's see. So
Find Aaron,
Aaron? Okay, sure.
because he never finds his.
All right, so B.
Yes,
So his name is Brown.
correct.
BR, 7-4.
There he is, Aaron.
Okay, so this is Aaron Brown. So this is his username, and that's where you get the username. And the password was it the, what was the password? This last 6.
So
Six
the
of your student ID.
first 6 letters of the last name.
The 6 digits, yeah. Is this for this? I'm not sure.
Actually,
That's
It's your student ID.
is a
The
student
last
ID.
six.
Yeah, the
Last 6 of the student ID. So if you don't know, make a note. So the username from the username page, and then the last 6 of the student ID for the password. And then you will, and we can help you in class as well. So if you don't know how to do this, it will be fine. But this will be the name of the server. I want to stress that you need to be aware that the server is case sensitive. So if sometimes if you're putting in this example my picture with HTML, that's not the same as my picture with lowercase. So it is a case sensitive environment, and you get apparently 100 megabytes. This is not really relevant to this class, but it doesn't have a MySQL database. So it can't do, if you want to do a database, you can do this here, just so you know. And so following the instructions with the username, you set up your site on Edison. And then you're going to need a tool called FileZilla, which you should have used in Web 1.10 to connect to the server. So this is FileZilla. And I think right now is probably not the time to show you all this, but I'm just giving you an overview of what needs to be in place. And so FileZilla is the client software tool that will allow you to get your files from the local directory to the server. And that's kind of universal. We're using a particular file client and a particular server, but that's the general process as well. And I do hope that you have practiced this in Web 1.10, but we can go over it in more detail as well if you like. So this will be username and the password, and the host name will be this is the host name. Okay. All right. Okay, so I will add a document that lists some of this information so you have it all in one place. Any questions so far on the server or anything like that? All right. All right, well, let's look at some lecture slides. What time is it? It's actually 1:50, so let's take a 10-minute break and then we're going to look at some lecture slides.
Question I have.
Yeah.
Do you want to hold off until Wednesday to sign the sheet?
I think we have enough spots in the class. I can do something.
And my second question is, would you be kind enough to send an email out so I could get the canvas early? I've been through this a number of times.
Yes.
And if you send an email to the right person,
Okay.
they will,
We totally plan.
I'll send you an email. And then I can get, because that's a separate item, and I can get.
So are you indeed in
access to Canvas
JavaScript or are
tomorrow.
you just being his avatar?
Okay, so
Wonderful.
Sweet.
I'll do the same thing. Sure.
I'll give you my email.
Okay. You have a form and just okay.
And we
I don't have a form, so
again, this quarter permissions to walk the machine.
So I'm recording here, so we'll go ahead and use this one.
I'm a senior.
You're not a senior. Get out of town.
Anyway, I can't register till next week.
Do you want a form?
What?
Yes, I'd
Why?
like a form.
Sure.
Well, because I want to make sure there's
Sure.
enough room for paying people. I only have to pay for
Yeah, senior audits, you have to wait for the first.
Can't wait until I get to do that.
It's a great deal.
You get to do it
You
too?
get it, this is my about seventh class.
I'm Joss. What's your name?
Steven,
Steven, nice to meet you.
I retired 2 years ago, and this is what I do to keep my brain
You
working.
two didn't introduce yourselves because you were not on my list. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
my name's Mavis, you're Steve,
I'm Steven.
and we're both in this
Together.
No joke.
senior situation.
Mavis is more skilled than I am. She has a Mac.
That's awesome. I wish we all had Macs.
I know.
Huh? Yeah.
No,
So-
I don't know yet. I don't know. Are you signing?
Yeah,
He gave me a form.
Again, I don't know if you can do this right now.
One day in the future, if the world is still the way it is now.
Signed an empty form without anything on it with my
Right, that would
signature.
be fun. And yeah,
Are you concerned?
she'll have to do it.
I'll vouch
I'm
for
somewhat
Mavis.
concerned.
Are you?
She'll add another class.
Don't worry. This will help the government unlock Android phones now.
There you go.
Who do you think did it, by the way? The Iranians or the Russians?
Did what?
The Android or the iPhone?
The
Here, I guess I'll write
And I don't know if you know, but you, this Donnie sends an email to the campus guy. He'll turn Canvas on email
Oh, good.
before you register.
Oh, good.
And
Oh, that's
so,
great.
I just have to remember who that is. It's the gentleman down in the extension office on the first floor.
Okay. So I know my.
So I'm going to go there and get his email and then I'll send it.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll be.
She sends it.
We'll be
She
in.
sends it to him.
So we can write to email okay, if you want. Because this is not starting for some reason. I guess not.
Oh, that's to get the emails to get the Canvas.
If you,
Well, if we're not signed up, she'll send us the assignment.
Oh,
I will add you to Google Drive, yeah.
paper, do you want it on your phone?
But paper is on the phone. You can maybe even use the same email. So maybe it's his
Sure,
email.
sure,
on here.
So I'll erase that part.
Hopefully my fingers won't erase it.
All right.
If you don't get the email, then I guess.
Don't be him.
Playing this one.
You think the obvious, right?
Exactly.
We're all intelligent people here, I thought, but I guess that's too
I
hard.
mean, I have a power plug underneath me here on the wall.
Oh, of course, I'm trying to say iCloud and it comes up as I'm out.
It's helping
You
you.
know, if you want to write it on this paper, it's fine too. Just write it on this paper.
Okay.
Print nice.
All right,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, go into this. Let's write this one.
See, you don't get a break.
No, it's okay.
Okay, you can write it the old-fashioned way. Pen and paper.
Oh my God.
Look at the posting to the Facebook page.
I haven't been pro for 4 years. Yeah, I didn't do jumping. I mean, I have jumped, but I don't train. Not all around. Yeah. He's really good. Oh, really? Yeah, so it's just a little stretchy. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it is. It's just, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. My body won't last forever. It's like, I'm fine here. You know, yeah.
That was a question, right?
No, that's great. Yeah. You do you
Yeah. I was like,
No, I didn't know. It's like Portland.
I was.
But
I don't know. Well,
West Seattle.
yeah.
Yeah.
That being said,
So they run in like on the lower pitch to get down.
Yeah. It's too far from the block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you didn't see able to even
Really?
yeah. To get downtown.
Yay.
It's gonna like convince
And you know what you mean, like the rubber boots? Yeah.
Yeah, they're hard, so they have more.
I don't know.
I don't know, like,
Can you answer this question?
Yes, two projects.
Oh, he's in this.
You still do that black part time?
Not anymore. Yeah, so I had her look for like,
What's your name?
Okay. It's time to resume. All right, so I have a very brief lecture, and then we're going to do our first coding because we simply must do first coding, right? Otherwise, what's the point? Okay, so just a couple introductory statements here about JavaScript. I think you all have heard of it, but maybe not exactly what is about JavaScript that makes it special. Well, when we talk about a website, we have the structured website, which is taken care of by HTML. Then we have the presentation, which is taken care of by CSS, right? So we try to separate presentation from structure. And so if we have a website that contains HTML and CSS, this is going to be a static website, right? So you can change dynamically in any way. Well, to make a static site dynamic, we can add a script such as JavaScript, and it allows us to interact with the user in various ways. So JavaScript is a language used to make sites more interactive, interesting, and user-friendly. And again, it's an interpretive language, which means that it's going to be, JavaScript resides in the browser and it's going to interpret commands line by line. If you have a full-fledged programming language that you need to compile, you need to actually compile to like some kind of intermediate file, which then you run. But with the interpretive language, you don't have to have this intermediate file. It just executes line by line sequentially as it encounters the code. And it's important to know that it executes in sequence unless you do something such as create a conditional loop, for example, to break up the sequence. There are other ways to break up the sequence as well, but I guess my main point was that it's executed as you see it, or rather, JavaScript executes as it sees the code on the page. So if you're wanting to learn JavaScript, as we all are here in this class, what does this involve? First of all, you need to have an understanding of some basic programming concepts, which are really language agnostic. They're variables and methods and functions and objects that are available in other languages as well, but you need to know what they are so you can relate them to JavaScript, right? Secondly, you need to learn the language itself. So you need to learn how to express whatever it is you're doing in the particular language. If you wanted to create a variable in Python, this is going to take a certain syntax, and sometimes the syntax between languages is very similar, but you need to know the exact syntax for the particular language you're working with. And this is where we have a difference between natural and computer language, because with a natural language we can be ambiguous and we kind of know the context and we can understand each other. But with a computer, even though computers beat us humans in many different ways, they are not ambiguous, so it cannot understand unless you tell it exactly the correct grammar of the language. So this is the syntax, and we also sometimes talk about syntax and semantics, the meaning of the language. Okay, so the basic programming concepts, the language itself, which if you want to think about it in terms of natural languages, like the vocabulary and how to structure your sentences properly. And again, in natural language, you can get by, and be understood fine without being 100% correct about it, but with programming language, you must be correct about your structure. And finally, look how a particular language is applied. As I think we talked here earlier, we obviously all know that JavaScript is used for websites. In fact, it's the most popular language out there today, and it's now even used on the back end with Node.js, but different languages have different uses, so you need to be familiar. So for example, if you want to be a mobile Android developer, JavaScript will not be your language of choice, because mobile applications for the Android are developed with Java and XML. So you need to know, what is the appropriate language for your goals. If you're in the web field, pretty much everybody needs to know JavaScript. Okay, so who knows what the DOM is? Do you guys know the DOM? Do you know what it stands for? Maybe? The document object model, right? And the document object model is you can think of it as another view of the page. You all know HTML. call, I presume. So the HTML page looks in a certain way, and then that same view, if you look at it in a different view, this view is the document object model. And that's the model that is going to be used, the model of the page that will be used by JavaScript to actually interact with the page. So JavaScript is going to be able to modify the content and the markup of the pages as the user is viewing them by actually behind the scenes manipulating the document object model. But that's what happens dynamically as maybe an event is triggered or some other condition is met. Then JavaScript allows you to change the font of the page, display certain different text, display an image, submit the form, and so forth. So these are all interactions with the user. In the process, to outline the high-level process of how that happens is the first thing you need to do is you need to access the content. In other words, select some text or some HTML elements, attributes. We're going to work a lot with attributes of HTML elements on the page. So who can give us an example of let's say we have an H1 tag. What would be an example of one of the attributes that might go with H1?
Class or an alt or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Class, ID, or an alt. So these are attributes that they describe additional information about an element, right? So we access the content, and then we can modify the content by adding or removing different parts of it to the HTML page. And then we also need to tell the browser the recipe, or if you will, the algorithm to follow so that it can make this happen. The program rules. And again, we have to be very precise because the computer will do exactly what you tell it. It will not do anything magical, even though it looks often like it does, but it's really going to do exactly what we tell it to do. So we have to be correct in our rules and our steps. And the big part of being dynamic is, of course, that when something happens on the page, for example, the user clicks on a subscription form or something like that, we call this in programming an event. So an event is triggered, and then we need to handle the event with an event handler in JavaScript, right? So the click is a very common event, or enter, or hover, mouse over. So we're going to spend a lot of time learning a lot of different events. But the idea is the same. When an event happens, then it's the programmer's job to handle this event programmatically. For example, you can obviously do this in CSS as well, but if you hover over a nav, you can change the color, right? So that would be handling an event. If you can do something in CSS, usually it's actually better to do it in CSS, but you could do it in JavaScript as well. All right, so that's a little brief introduction of the language and the process. And let's go ahead and code our first JavaScript program together. Okay.
What program do we use? Oh, right.
So we're going to be using brackets. So start brackets, please. So to work with brackets is ideal to create a project folder to work with. Otherwise, it's hard to keep track of it. So I recommend you create your folder. I like to call my folder temp. It doesn't matter what's the name of it, but just do create a folder where you're going to put your files, even if you just have one file. So you do start with a desktop or your flash drive. Create a folder, temp in my case. And then I'm going to open brackets. Close whatever it shows here as a default. And let's see here. And then we're going to click on Getting Started, Open Folder, and select your folder as the project folder. And yours will be blank. I just have some slides there, but now the name of the folder you're working with should be listed here, and that's your project folder. All right. And if you want to change it, you just click on it, open folder, and you go to a different folder. Let's see. And then we're going to create, and raise your hand if you, please don't be shy. No, there's no reason. Yes, Joss.
You said raise your hand up.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to continue.
You're,
What were you going to ask? I have a question about.
all right. Well, what is your question?
In the folder, do I just save whatever you're working on in brackets to that folder?
Well, right now we're going to do this together. I was waiting for everyone, so assuming that everyone is has set up the folder, and then we're going to create a new file and save as first.html. And there are links to these files I post, but you need to code them with me. If you're just looking at them, it's not going to work out for you to learn JavaScript. So you always need to code, but I want you to know that the source code is available if you're lost as well, or if you want to look at it later. All right. So I'm naming this file first.html. You can name it whatever you want. And I saved it in this folder. And is my font size large enough there, Adam? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I have a bit of an issue here. For my thing, it just says text files and web files. If I just type in
Wait, hang on a second.
Which is very true.
So you're gonna make the folder real quick, and then I'll put the folder. I'll go to working again.
And then
You have to click on the
brackets here. If you named it .html, it's going to automatically post it as a HTML file.
Now save this.
Yeah, go back.
By the way, if you want me to look at some code, as you most certainly will, just make sure to enlarge the font size because it's hard for me to see, so that's always difficult. I'm really I don't know what I can help you because I can see what you're doing there. Okay, so when we create JavaScript, we're going to learn that there are two different ways to add the JavaScript. The JavaScript can go in the HTML page, which is what we're going to do here, or we can put it in a separate page, which we're going to include. Then we're going to learn both ways. The more simple way for now is going to go in the HTML page. So we need to actually create an HTML page. And that's what we're doing right now. My color is not coming up. Let's see here. Huh. Okay. There we go. And maybe if you like, you can just save one of these just HTML templates. It's just a couple lines. It's up to you. So I have the HTML, the head, and the body tag. In the title, it's going to be Hello JavaScript. And you will discover quickly that to learn JavaScript, you must already be familiar with HTML and CSS. So maybe I'll point you to a couple of references to